Good morning, everybody. Let's begin with a prayer. Sitting upright, let us see the living presence of our masters before us. Divine Mother, Heavenly Father, friend, beloved God, beloved Gurus, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, Lahiri Mahashai, Swami Shri Yukteswar Ji, beloved Guru Paramhansa Yogananda Ji, saints of all religions, dearest Swami Ji, we thank you for your presence in our lives, the teachings you have brought us. Give us the wisdom, the joy, and the strength to apply these teachings in our daily lives, that we may feel greater healing, greater inner freedom. Om. Just for a few moments, let's all meditate, friends. Let's feel we are all sitting together in satsang in one temple, one room with the masters. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Welcome once again, and thank you for coming. You'll remember, friends, last week we discussed on the subject of, as Maushmi mentioned, of insults. I had given some examples. Actually, last week was more about examples that it's a common theme. It will happen to you. It starts literally from childhood. It's part of human nature, you might say. It's one of those the unfortunate, the negative sides. Somebody insults us. It could be a stranger. It could be, as I mentioned, somebody close to us. No one is spared of it. I gave the examples of Christ, his disciples, Swami Kriyananda ji. Here he was trying to start the work many decades ago in San Francisco and California, where, as Maushmi said, now there's such a wonderful work happening worldwide. But as they say, every good work, requires some tapasya in the beginning. Nothing good ever came without that austerity. And Swamiji had a student, and he was giving classes after classes, week after week. Actually, 5 days. He would be in 5 cities in the Bay Area. And at one point, he would allow people to pay what they could if they could not pay the fee he had suggested. And so one lady was in that category. She would repeatedly say, I don't have money. And Swami said, okay, it's fine. Come and take the classes nonetheless and serve in some way. And one day Swami said, okay, next week we'll have this class. And she said, oh, I'm sorry, next week I won't be here. I'm flying to New York to see my parents over the weekend. And Swami said, okay, well, so you do have money some money. She had said she has no money. And she said, oh, yes, I have money. And she said, but I have money for things which I consider worthy. And imagine saying that to your teacher. And Swami just said, he simply, let things be. He swallowed the insult. And this was not just one time, it would happen again and again, sometimes for people he had served for years. Another time, and this is tying into, not only the fact that this will come sooner or later. It's like last week, and forgive me, last week I gave the wrong example. It was not Saint Gyandev, it was Saint Namdev. The story of the potter and the crack in the pot. But in any case, Swamiji, I'll give you another example. And what I'm trying to suggest over here is already the theme for today, which is what do we do about it? How do we have that unshakable calmness, that peace, that frankly, it's a little bit like, frankly, mothers are breastfeeding a child, when you're breastfeeding the child, of course, you're giving life. But at some point, all of us as children, we develop teeth and you bite, and that's certainly, not pleasant. And Christ put it in his own way. He says people bite the very fingers that feed them. So it's part of duality. These are one of those things which tell you that, oh, I just don't want to be here. This is not in a reactive way, because the story I'm about to tell you, you'll see. Think of 5-6 attitudes right now: calmness, peace, patience, the ability to listen, introspect. If somebody's insulting us, might there be some truth over there? Let me listen. Let me be open to that. And then Kriyananda ji said, if you can if the person is right, then you can show respect. And then he went on one step further. He said, the attitude of reverence for the person who is insulting you. It's literally the practice of the ninth beatitude of Christ when Christ gave these teachings to his very close disciples. So I found this story for you. Swami Kriyananda ji had started Ananda village, and I'll make it very short. It's a long story. But anyway, somebody was staying here year after year, never paying any dues. 12 years went by, and finally managership changed. So somebody looked at the books. They're like, oh, this person has been staying. He's not paying any dues, no rent, no electricity, no food. And so naturally they had a meeting with this person, and the person said, well, what are my options? And they said, well, everybody contributes something. And he was an artist. He could have done something. And so anyway, they said, your options are pay or leave, pay something. And he said, well, I'd like to leave. And they said, okay. But he said, before I leave, I want to meet Swamiji. And they said, okay. So they arranged for his meeting with Swamiji. And for 1 hour, he sat in Swami's own house and non-stop insulted Swamiji. He said how worthless his life was, his discipleship. And what does it say? Like I was mentioning last week, friends, some of these things are so childish, so laughable on one level. I mean, here he was saying, you are worthless. What you have created is worthless. Your work is worthless. You're not a good disciple by any means. Well, why was he staying here for 12 years then? So again, it's almost like sometimes when we get emotional, reason and feelings, they divorce, you might say, completely divorce. And if somebody were to ask him that question, he would be like, yeah, maybe this is a good place. But in the moment, emotions take over. So anyway, before leaving, he insulted Swamiji, and for 1 hour, Swami simply let him speak. And that's a solution in itself. Swamiji said, if somebody is insulting you, let's say, or saying something condescending, now there are many things to do about it. You can simply, first of all, get up and leave. Swamiji said, just go for a walk, or brace for impact. Or if you're strong enough, you just, like I said, sit there. You can say, okay, I'm happy to hear and listen. But then Kriyananda ji said that after this gentleman had finished, the person left, and Swami meditated. And in that meditation, interestingly, out of 450 pieces of music that he wrote, his favorite piece of music, it's called I Live Without Fear, came. That, Lord, I want nothing that this world can. And again, Swami was not sad or disappointed. You see, in those states, you don't receive such high inspiration. But Kriyananda ji said, basically, this reminded him, and even if it didn't remind him, because maybe I'm sure he was already in that to be able to withstand this. He was in a state of consciousness, but for you and me, that song is a reminder that what is it that we are really seeking in life. And so anyway, that's what that song addresses. So let's come back to these themes. If somebody says something which is demeaning, insulting to us, it's a strong slight, you might say. Master said, first remain calm and peaceful, and for that we need to meditate. Meditation is frankly a spectrum, as anybody who's meditated long enough will know. It brings peace in the moment, focus of mind in the moment, even in your first meditation, if you are well guided. And then after, frankly, decades, and honestly, after lifetimes of practice, one basically finds God through meditation. One attains the state of samadhi. So there is a spectrum over there. But one of the fruits of meditation is you stop taking things personally. So somebody's insulting you. It's not a good thing. You can't change the person, but it's coming towards you. But it's like in a state of sainthood, there is simply no ego on which the karma can latch. On a lesser scale, you can say the insult is coming, but you're not there to some degree, and you don't take it. So Master says, listen to it. Maybe there is some truth to it. Thank the person, tell them you'll think about it, and come back to them. Introspect honestly. First, calm yourself, introspect. And you may say, I want to call that person and thank him because what he or she said is true. Maybe the way they said it was not true, but nobody, many times people out of, I don't know, superficiality, they simply never address what might be a challenging issue in us, or something we're going down the wrong way, or our behavior has not been correct, and nobody says anything about it. So thank them, express that gratitude, respect and reverence that God spoke through this person. God has finally opened my eyes, corrected me. There was a yogi who unfortunately started believing that he was God and would tell his disciples, and I am God. And Master once went to his satsang as a little boy, and in the middle of the satsang, this man looked at Yogananda ji, and as if to impress him, he says, I am God. And Master got up from his seat. He said he used to carry a little mirror in his pocket. He took out that mirror, he showed it to this man. He says, look in that mirror. Is that God you see? And that yogi looked in there. First, he got very upset. He said, how dare you? And Master said, look, tell me, is that God? And Master got up and simply walked away. And this man, this yogi, ran behind Master and fell at his feet and apologized. He says, you have opened my eyes. And Master said, forgive me. And what shall we do now? All this bad karma I have. And Master says, don't worry, you are an advanced soul. He said, because otherwise you would not have apologized in front of your disciples. So keep that in mind, that introspection. Sometimes if we keep taking things personally, if we are never available or open. Now, I don't know, I have this software. If my thumb comes up, it gives that emoji. So anyway, what happens is we want to, for our own benefit, basically, be open to listening. And like Master says, be calm, be peaceful, introspect, and express your respect and reverence if somebody had that point of view. What also we can think about is that in such a mistaken way, it is God who has brought himself down to this level, because God is in everybody. We may not see that initially, but as a yogi, that's what we are supposed to do. We are, by affirming that, by seeing that reality in people, even if they have fallen down, we keep that image held up, and that helps them, and keep that in mind. Now, the other thing is, Master said, on a, let's say, more day-to-day practical level, there was this yogi who, speaking about meditation, Master met him, and Master noticed that his wife was very nagging. And Master kind of was wondering about it. And this yogi, I think, read Master's thought. And he said, first he asked him, he said, are you married, my boy? And Master says, no, sir. He said, good, you are safe. And then he said, my wife, and Master was seeing that behavior. And then Master says, she nags me all the time. And he was chuckling, but he said, but she doesn't know where I am. That he was simply above it. So if, again, we are in a long-term situation, now this is the high end. You become a saint, you're simply not affected by those kind of things. You're risen above that, your feelings, your ego. The other thing Master said is, you can simply tell people that, well, I'm going to think about this and come back to you. And after that, Master says, you can, if they are not stopping, he said, get up, walk away, calmly just reply through your eyes that, why do we have to bring the conversation here? Or, I'm not participating in this. The other thing that we can do is, Master said, you can tell them at some point. And because now it's easy to take, let's say, an insult to yourself, but imagine somebody's insulting your spouse or your guru. That happens. People directly insult the guru, or they speak to the disciples about the guru. Master says, again, in that case, you can tell people that, if they're really not stopping, that, I'm trying to see goodness in you. I'm trying to see God in you. But it also, what you're saying, little bit shows what you are on the inside yourself. And I will pray for you. and then do pray for them. So again, you can see in all these ways, through meditation, through the attitude of peace, calmness, not taking things personally, seeing perhaps if there's something over there of value. These are the things that can ultimately change us. Finally, Swami says you want to see God in everybody. Again, it ties into meditation that the more we can feel his presence, peace, calmness, these are aspects of God. And life can surprise us. Often insults come from, completely somebody who's not related. And finally, it makes you think, and I'll close with this, the attitude of compassion. It makes you think. It's like how far somebody may have gone. But again, remember, don't be judgmental. First, you've done your introspection. And if you really know that you are in the right and somebody's wrong about all those things, like Kriyanandaji said, he just let the person speak. He just let him get it off his chest, you might say. And you say that, oh, it's gone down so far. They are now almost damaging, you might say, their soul awareness, because for anybody to treat another person like that, it shows how much they must be hurt. Like this person who came to Anand Mohima's satsang, and she was distributing prasad, and she gave him an orange, and he took it and threw it back on her chest. And naturally, the devotees kind of just sprung into action. Then they would try to beat him, and Ma said, "Stop, stop, bring him to me." And she just very lovingly, like a mother, just calmly gazed into his eyes and just caressed him. That how much hurt he must be from inside to, for some reason, come, but then not be able to accept that kind of a loving gesture from a saint. So again, it calls for us to be more strong inside, be more centered in God, see what lesson there might be over there, so that we can certainly heal ourselves from any ignorance and perhaps pray and heal the person who is accusing us. Let's close. And before we go into healing prayer for Guru Bhais and individuals, let us see the light of God in everyone, in everything, blessing this world, and that light increasing day by day, everywhere, especially through our intentions and spiritual efforts. Let's rub our hands and send these blessings out into the world. Oh.